Happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another edition of LePage Live. My name is Arms Bumanlag. Very happy to be here with you on a Thursday that sort of feels like a Friday because of the holiday on Monday. But this is our weekly live stream where we check in with our real estate team right across Windsor and Essex County and the folks who represent the LePage Binder brand and talk to realtors, salespeople, folks that are making the real estate industry happen and move here in the Windsor Essex County area. And I'm really excited today because we've got somebody who has just a wide birth of experience in the industry, several decades. So the highs, the lows in the industry as well. And I can't wait to talk to him because he's heavily involved in the community too. And he's got some really cool connections to the music scene as well. So joining me on the show is Phil Kasurak from LePage Binder Real Estate. Hey, Phil, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, really good, Arms. Great to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too. And thank you for making some time with us as we go live here for
My
LePage Live
pleasure.
this week. Phil, we were talking before we went live here. I mean, you talk about the ups and downs and the roller coaster of the real estate industry. I mean, we go back several decades. You got your start, what, mid 80s?
1986.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. Getting started compared to now, that's quite a journey. You've seen the ups and downs.
I've seen, several cycles of real estate, highs and lows. But as we were discussing, none of us had ever seen anything remotely like the market that we've been in Windsor, Essex County for the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, where a house would go on the market and you would actually hold off the offer process. I mean, that was literally unheard of here. And that at the end of that process, a homeowner might see and would almost certainly see multiple bids and sale prices, and in increments of tens of thousands of dollars over the asking price. So this is a whole new. It has been a whole new thing for Windsor. We have seen it in Toronto. It's been going on in Toronto and Vancouver and other markets for as long as I've been in real estate. But it's completely new to Windsor, Essex County.
What's interesting too, Phil, doing some research on your background and how you can kind of translate some of your skills. I mean, before you got into the world of real estate, this is kind of cool. You were formerly licensed to sell life insurance and financial products, so there's a little bit of a synergy there, is there not?
There is, and I think that's helped me understand not only residential mortgages, but I think it's helped me with commercial clients understanding things like cap rates, in other words, capitalization rates and returns on investment, and those type of concepts. They weren't really new to me because I was working in the financial industry.
And lifelong resident of the area as well, Phil. You got to tell me about your beautiful wife and not one, not two, but five kids in the
Yeah.
30s. So you are a well-seasoned father.
Yes. Well, Christine and I got married about 37 years ago, and we had, like dated since, high school. I was in college. She was in high school, graduating. She went on to become a nurse and works at one of the hospitals in Windsor. And, we've got, five children. Our daughter is our oldest. She's 36. And anybody who's listening that went to school with Ashley. And then we had four boys immediately after. And at one point in time, we had five children under 5 years old. It was a pretty wild household. So, for those out there that have kids and families and need more space or all that, I understand.
You feels like been there, done that times five, right? So
I definitely have the T-shirt.
yeah, that's right. Well, bless your heart. Phil Kasurak is
Mhm.
joining us here on LePage Live. We're talking to our real estate agents right across Windsor and Essex County, too, and how they're rooted in the community. Phil, again, lifelong resident of the Amherstburg area. Kind of cool, too. So you are in the Amherstburg area, heavily involved in the community out here as well. Tell me a little bit about the connections that you've made here and some of the cool things that you've done in communities that you've been a part of, not
Well,
necessarily just as a real estate agent, but really as a community member as well.
Well, that's really how it all got going. Was I had an interest in the community, and I knew others that had interest in the community. And you know how networks go, so you meet somebody and they're interested in something, and you share a similar interest, and pretty soon you get drawn into various groups. And I've served on a couple municipal committees. One of them was a recreation committee that advises the town council about, parkland and things like that. And I take a keen interest still today, even though I'm not involved. Those of us in Amherstburg, we see that Amherstburg is feeling like maybe there is too much parkland, and some of the residents are, very protective of that parkland. So, hey, that's up to, everybody to figure out what is best for them in this community. And that's the beauty of a community, is working together to figure out what the needs are, etc. But something that became near and dear to my heart was the history of the town and historical real estate, historical buildings in town. And I was invited to join another advisory committee to council, which was the Heritage Committee. It was formerly called the Historical Committee, but it became the Heritage Committee. And what that does is advises the town council about the built heritage, in other words, buildings, and also cultural heritage, which is people that have lived here that have impacted the community in big ways. So that again, while I'm no longer involved in that specific committee, that is something that's still near and dear to my heart, and it has spilled over into my real estate activity, because it's given me a greater appreciation of historical buildings and cultural heritage.
Yeah, it's so important, Phil. I'm glad that you brought that up, and kudos to you for being involved. I quick personal story for me. My father-in-law took us out on his boat on the civic holidays, so we were very fortunate to go up and down the river just here in town. Where I'm an Amherstburg guy myself, and taking a look at some of the properties along the waterfront, and just even walking near Toddy Jones Park and seeing some of those historical buildings that are up, and folks are kind of putting some money behind it to renovate them,
Mhm.
bring them up to some really nice standards as well. It's interesting to see that we have a better appreciation here, I think, in 2021 for sort of preserving the past so we can sort of shape our future. Because I think when you have a town that's so historically involved, like Amherstburg is, I mean, from a tourism perspective and even from a residential perspective, that's that rich storytelling history that folks can find, and the area can really sell itself in terms of, why you should be living in Amherstburg.
Yeah, I've always believed exactly that would be a great calling card for Amherstburg, because we do share we have a great history in this community that dates back to the early settlement brought on by Fort Malden. And and our location, of course, that's what brought Fort Malden here, was the waterfront. So now we have beautiful parkland along the water. Fort Malden itself is a gem. Uh, Christine and I are fortunate enough to live sort of across the street from Fort Malden. And
Nice.
interestingly enough, this is the house that I grew up in. And although it changed hands and went to another family, that family that had purchased this house from my dad called me as a realtor and said, "Hey, we're wanting to move to St. Catharines to be close to our kids. Come on over and list our house." And while I was in this house at the kitchen table with them, they basically talked me into buying it.
They convinced you, right? Hook, line,
They
and sinker.
convinced me. They
Yeah.
did, and so here we are. And this is a now 101-year-old
Wow.
house. So if you have a historical property, or really any property, it's incumbent on you as a homeowner, property owner, to maintain your home, to give it maintenance, to give it improvements. Now here, we're keeping the exterior with the style and even the interior trim, with the arts and crafts original style that this home was built with. And that's really important to anybody out there who has a historical home, or even if you have a new build. We see a lot of the new builds, and you'll see them, and they have that nice stone front, and then they have that, beautiful James Hardy siding that looks like real wood, and they've got a covered front porch, and they've got maybe some tapered pillars. And that's arts and crafts, that style. And so if you know that, and as I do, and I could help somebody else know it, you would carry that style into the home with the type of trim you choose and your cabinet faces and all your little door holes on the cabinets and the detail. Because like they say, the devil is in the details. And if you can just put all that together nicely in a package, then you really got something. And we have tried, even you'll see in my resume, and I sent you a copy, and I know you did look through it, that some of my background is in residential development, and some of it has been in new condominium, high rise. Some we started like from the ground up, where a development client, picked a site, sold them the site, got pre-sales for the building, watched the building go up. We were always very careful to carry through a decorated model, furnished, so that people could visualize, this is what I can do with this place, this is what I'm getting, and this is what I'm going to have. And so always that kind of detail is really important. And so, that's what they talk about when they talk about merchandising your home for sale or your property for sale. It is pulling all those things together.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. If you can my wife has a fantastic eye for that kind of stuff, and I've learned quickly. I'm not like you and Christine, Carrie and I, but I've learned quickly that whatever my wife wants, I just kind of nod my head when it comes to the details, right?
Right. Well, and those details are again, they're highly important. And I'm amazed when I, in my, daily activity of, clients and showing homes, how many homes we go in that are just, spotless and ready to sell. Those are basically mostly in the minority. I know that's hard to believe, but very many people, they just do not prepare their home. It's almost like, hey, didn't you know we were coming? You got a for sale sign in your lawn. Why isn't your home, why isn't it organized? Why is it so cluttered? Why is it, why didn't you hire a maid if you can't clean it yourself? So, if you end up hiring me, you're going to get this kind of feedback. And while I can't, I'll never force anybody to do anything. This is we're servants in our business, but
Sure.
we're advisors and we're advocates. So you get that kind of advice were you to hire me as to what you can do to put together your home. And again, I'm not going to demand that you do it, but you would benefit from it greatly.
You know what's great about the fact that you have that experience and you have those decade-long experience and you have that advisor sort of role as well. Another way folks have benefited from your talents here in the Windsor-Essex area is your musical talents. And just before we wrap it up here on the show, I got to talk about this because you're doing some incredible work with your musical talents and helping out some folks here locally too. So tell us a little bit about that. You're a drummer?
I am a drummer. I've been a drummer since I was a child, and probably about, I don't know, 15 years ago, at one point in time, I was an active, working musician. I traveled, I went on the road, that was my job. And at some point, I decided, my income kind of plateaued at that time. And I said, I don't know if I'll ever, get to where I need to be, with a family and a home and all that stuff. And being a musician is a sacrifice. And so, I entered the financial services industry and then the real estate industry a few years later, but was always interested in music. And about 15 years ago, I decided I would re-enter. And when I surveyed it, I thought, gosh, there's a lot of great like drum kit players out there. I mean, I could
Sure.
name them, you know. And so I felt I was a little behind in that category. I reached out to a friend of mine who had been the percussionist for Alex Zonchuk and many other well-known musicians. And his
Sure.
name was Tim Gibson, and I took personal lessons from Tim for about 5 years. Every week, I would go to Tim's apartment and learn how to play bongos and congas. And that is a lot of what I do today is the percussion end, but I still do play drum kit. And I've been involved in churches. A church here in Amherstburg, St. Andrew's Presbyterian. I was a long time with that church and the music program there. And in the last couple years, I've kind of morphed to a church called the New Song Church, which is in Windsor, and it is more of a mission church that feeds the neighborhood. And the musical director there, Kevin Rogers, is the pastor, brilliant musician, great music director. And from that church and from their work of feeding the neighborhood, excuse me, they morphed into a program called Feeding Windsor, which I hope I don't get the math wrong here, but I think they're now serving like 4,000 meals per week across the county, and they will soon be in Amherstburg as well for those
That's
who
awesome.
need some assistance and some food. And they run a food bank for pets right out of the church on Drouillard Road. It's a fantastic organization, and I fully support it. And I love playing music. And then last night, for example, I guessed with various acts. One fairly well known, is a band called Hula Dog, which is sort of a
Yeah.
jazz collective, and led by my good friend Michael Stone, who is the trombonist for the Windsor Symphony. And fortunate enough, they seem to kind of like me a little bit, and they let me come and play with them all night, anytime I want. And so that's kind of what I do. A lot of church music. I mean, I get the occasional paying gig today, and that's cool. I'll take them, if I
Sure.
can work them into my schedule. But that's my music thing. And I also do something with Windsor Compassionate Care Community, which is once a month. They do a live Zoom broadcast with musicians from really all over the world. It started out, it was just Essex County musicians, but now, I mean, last month we had musicians playing from Colombia,
That's awesome.
like, oh yeah, fabulous. And so I do a little drum circle broadcast with them every month, and that's a volunteer thing that I just do because I believe in what they're doing, and I believe in the fellow that runs the program. His name is Joe Perry, and he's the former head of social services at hospice, which is how I met him.
That's fantastic. Well, we've got to wrap it up, Phil. What a pleasure to talk to you. And certainly,
Oh,
if our
we could,
viewers
we
here on
could.
the stream, they want to secure you, and if they're listening and seeing you and thinking, "Wow, this real estate professional is music to my ears," they can contact all of that information, royalpagebinder.com, to get a hold of you. So keep up the great work in the community, Phil. We
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you so much, my friend. It was great
Um,
talking to you.
My pleasure, Phil. Anytime. Phil Kasurak, who is one of our valued team members at the Royal LePage Binder real estate team. We've got brokerages right across Windsor and Essex County. Frank Binder and his team really dedicated to the community and not just selling and buying in Windsor, Essex, but investing, as Phil said. New Song Church, I can say from my standpoint, if you didn't know, I'm also director of development at the Windsor Essex County Humane Society, and that is a church that we support through our pet food bank. So very happy to have that coordination with Phil and the team over at New Song too. So we continue on. Our real estate agents have stories to tell, and they've got all sorts of fantastic, stories to relay, not only in real estate, but living and working and growing in the communities that we serve. So we're back on Monday with our Ask the Experts, and we'll be chatting about the mortgage realm with Rasha Ingrata from Mortgage Intelligence. So looking forward to seeing her and welcoming her to the show. Have a great rest of the afternoon. Again, we're back on Tuesday with another edition here on Royal LePage Live, Ask the Experts. Take care, stay safe, and check out our website for complete details. Take care.